I live in Live Oak country, just north of Disney and west of the Fountain of Youth, and just enough south of the Georgia state line and north of the Forgotten Coast as to really be in what I would call the Spanish Moss Belt. I told you about Spanish moss before. Well, I live in Alachua, Florida. It's not quite the Florida most people think of when they envision South Beach, the Orlando Magic, or Tampa International Airport. This is actually the beginning of an essay I wrote a couple of years ago that I'd like to continue reading for you. It's called Southerisms from the Spanish Moss Belt. As I said, I live in Alachua, Florida, and here the counties have names like Dixie, Wakulla, Alachua, and Gilchrist. I have a Cable Guy country zip code, and when I need a number 8 bolt, I just go over to Wayne at Alachua Farm and Lumber. He just knows where to find one, and he doesn't even charge me for it. I'm surrounded by people who still find joy in sharing pecan pie recipes, going to worm grunting festivals, tubing down the Ichetuckney River, competing in the wild hog canoe race, quilting in Micanopy, and even rodeoing in Williston. In the years that I've lived in this little known part of heaven, I've curated expressions that I've gathered from my South. They reflect the majestic palette of language of the people that I have known and come to love for the past 40-some years. People like Ruby Carroll, Danny, Jeffrey, Tallulah, well, and many others too. Too long a list to spell without boring you to extinction. This one's one of my favorites. That is alligatin'. This is a descriptive term used to refer to the bubbling process or texture of paint on a surface, whether as a result of poor preparation, cheap paint, a bad painter, or all of the above. That there metal flake orange on your hood is alligating real bad. What can I get for you, hun? This depicts friendly talk from the waitress at Woodchuck's, a hamburger joint where they don't take reservations. The menu has 12 fixed items, and unless you drive a pickup, well, it helps to have a belt, a cap, or some article of clothing with camouflage print on it in order to get a table. It also helps if your umbilicus overhangs your buckle or rattlesnake skin belt. You'll probably be seated at Woodchuck's immediately. All you gotta say is number 6 or number 9 sweet tater fries and a pib, and the waitress will know exactly what you're talking about. That near like to have killed me. This is a very common expression referring to a heavy object or projectile defying the laws of gravity and whizzing by your head, that's the skull, at a high rate of speed where your peripheral vision just barely afforded you the avoidance of an unfortunate and possibly lethal event. The expression can also be used to an unrelenting and monstrous headache, which requires narcotics and a dark room to subside. It can also be used to describe the experience of a difficult childbirth, as in, when I done pushed Angie out, it near like to have killed me. I got rising whips. This refers to a condition that might have triggered a skin eruption as a result of an allergic contact with something like a bee sting or stinging nettleweed, or maybe having eaten something like boiled peanuts or even penicillin. If severe enough, besides risins and weps, the victim might get to wheezling and could be very short of breath. I was rubbing some WD-40 on my hurting knee joints, and I done broke out with risins and weps all over the place. Dad gummit. This is synonymous with dag nabbit. That's what Southern Baptist boys are taught to say from the time they start Sunday school in lieu of any expletives, expressing putative scorn, extreme frustration, or vain use of the name of the Almighty. It can also be used in the setting of having spilled a can of fast-drying mahogany polyurethane stain on Mama's white living room shag rug, or even worse, dropping your cell phone from your back pocket into a porta potty at Travis Tritt concert. Well, bless his heart. That's a statement of veiled affection that can be used as a euphemism, generally in the context of labeling somebody politely as either a fool or a person of low intelligence. Buddy, bless his heart, he was just never any good at life skills like parting his hair. I feel like a pig in mud. This is a retort referring to an acknowledgement of one's state of well-being when asked how one is doing. How are you doing since your coronary artery bypass, Fred? Well, Doc, I feel like a pig in mud. She done you proud. That's a condition that occurs when one of your children excels in sports in school. It can also be escalated to express the superlative by modifying it to, he done his daddy real proud. Lordy, lordy, lordy. This is a multi-purpose phrase with several nuanced meanings. For example, it might be whispered among a group of proper ladies sitting on a porch, remarking on the anatomy of a well-muscled, shirtless man walking by, hefting a wheelbarrow. Or it may also be employed in situations of despondency or stress, like in, Lordy, 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 why did that trooper give me a speeding ticket? Or under duress, like in the throes of painful uterine contractions during child labor. I'm fitting to do it. This is an utterance that's said when one has the intention to perform an action or a chore. For example, if one is asked whether they intend to sweep the front steps, yes, sir, I was fitting to do that. In some circumstances, the term may be used in like commonplace meteorology forecasting, like when the disc jockey on Oyster Radio WOYS in Apalachicola says, it's fitting to rain this weekend. Well, if I were you, this is a subtle, if not polite way of telling someone what to do. Well, if I were you, I would not take a picture of that there alligator in the ditch. If you ax me. This is a manner of prefacing comments to offer an opinion, even when it might neither be welcome nor requested. If you ax me, I wouldn't vote for no sheriff who don't like to fish and hunt. I reckon. This is a concise expression of acknowledgement by someone with a reluctance to understand a directive. I reckon you don't want me to power wash your silk dress? The expression can also be used as an acknowledgement by someone of avoiding doing what they're asked, as in, I reckon you want me to pay you back? Let me splain. This statement reflects a conviction when a person in authority, like your boss, your supervisor, or maybe a state trooper, exudes frustration or makes a final effort after repeatedly describing unheeded ways or procedures, and the listener either neglects or refuses to follow suit or acknowledge the request. For example, I'll just have to explain to him why he's getting fired. Another example would be when a Pee-wee football coach speaks in frustration to one of his players. Junior, can you explain to me why you didn't catch the ball this time? And what would you have done? This is a statement of assertion of purpose by a survivor in response to a question by his doctor of why he might have bitten a rattlesnake's head off after it bit him.
Well, what would you have done?
Don't you just love it? Bless his heart. Well, there you have it. Those are Southerisms from the Spanish Moss Belt. Hope you enjoyed it. Oh, I forgot one thing. When you're down south, if you go to pull up to a drive-through for fast food, don't forget to ask them for the fixins.
Ba-ba-da